Oh, I think you guys know what we're going to be chatting about today. Welcome to the GTN show. Yeah, we are going to be sharing our excitement and taking a closer look at the huge Ironman world record. In fact, make that 2 huge Ironman world records.
Plus, there's another half marathon world record, some great news for para-triathlon. We take a look at the newest TT bike on the market. Plus, we have a Met helmet giveaway. Before we get to any of that stuff, let's start with react, some of the stuff we've seen on social media over the last week. Starting with this, which is actually from 2 weeks ago, well before Kristian Blummenfelt did his Ironman debut, but he posted that he was looking forward to it, and a certain someone commented underneath and said, "Don't worry, Ironman is easy," and that was Gustav Eden. Those two, they're really showing up the Ironman world at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the way that Kristian stormed that, it kind of made it look easy. I'm sure it wasn't, but we'll talk more about that later on. There's a post we spotted here from kind of an incredible performance by Alan Hovda, but pushing his body to the absolute extreme in a 24-hour race. So much so that he kind of went into a bit of a meltdown by the end, physically.
Yeah, exactly. He was winning the 24-hour race. I think he'd run 241 kilometers in the first 21 hours with only 3 hours to go, and he started taking a bit of strain. He still made it to the finish. His lead was cut down from 12 laps to 3 laps by the end, but he still made it to the 24th hour, and then he collapsed. And it turned out he had rhabdomyolysis, which, if you don't know, is basically your muscle proteins breaking down to the point that they're clogging up your kidneys, poisoning your blood. He collapsed, and he said, a little warning on social media, if during a race you have dark brown, black urine, it's a good sign you should stop and seek medical care. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Definitely don't push that far. Anyway, we're glad he's okay. He also posted this photo of the podium while he was not able to go to the podium. I think Jonas's son was able to go there and was more than happy to take his spot while he got some treatment.
I bet. On a more light-hearted note, there's a quite a fun picture that Daniela Reef posted this week. It made me chuckle, partly because I think I would be the same. I haven't yet used our 360 camera, and she just says when your friend's 360 camera for the first time, when you use your friend's for the first time, and you've got no idea what you're doing, but then simply the face I make when I watch Kristian Blummenfelt race. Yeah, I think we're all with that one.
Well, we look forward to seeing some more photos from Daniela with her 360
we do,
camera.
Yeah.
And then we had this from Emma Pallant, who took on another cycle race and unfortunately didn't quite go very well. She decided, I don't really remember from the Cape Argus Pick and Pay cycle tour, she actually crashed right at the finish line. She was in the bunch sprint, but stacked it just before the line with about 20 meters to go. Well, this time she decided to avoid that entirely by going on a solo breakaway with 85 kilometers to go. And she held it all the way to the line. Unfortunately,
so she thought.
At some point, she went the wrong way, and she actually put a photo up, this photo of her where she's coming into the Kyalami racetrack, and there's actually a cone right where she's supposed to go. So she went the other way, obviously. It looked like the cone, that was where she was pointing to. Turned out that was the wrong way. She got to the finish, she won, she celebrated, she had her drug testing, she waited to go up on the podium, and they just didn't call her name. Because she had been disqualified for apparently going the wrong way, following the lead car, following the lead motorbike.
I was going to say, she was following the lead car, so that was
very frustrating.
I think you can tell from her post that she's still sort of recovering emotionally from that, and having put right that wrong from the week before. And it's great to see. I mean, she was still got a great training ride in, which was something that she aimed to, but maybe didn't reach the rest of her goals with that race.
All right, on to your tri news, and the tri news this week has to be the Ironman world record has been broken by none other than Kristian Blummenfelt, Olympic gold medalist, on his Ironman debut.
Yeah, I mean, the guys talked about it last week, and we knew it was going to be an exciting race and an exciting performance. I mean, Gustav has led the way with his debut Ironman, and we knew that Kristian had been working just as hard, if not harder. But I don't think we quite expected the spectacle and the incredible time that we did witness.
Well, yes. Kristian Blummenfelt won Ironman Cozumel in the amazing time of 7 hours, 21 and 12 seconds, which is amazing. I mean, to put it in perspective, the previous iron distance world record was 7 hours, 35:39, which was set by Frodeno at Challenge Roth. So that's the iron distance world record. He did do 7:27:53 in his tri battle earlier this year, where he was specifically going for that iron distance world record, but it wasn't actually a race. It was just him against the clock and Lionel Sanders. So we can't really count that time, but still, Kristian Blummenfelt was significantly faster than that. And the actual Ironman world record in an actual Ironman event branded by Ironman was 7:40 by Tim Don in Brazil, or 7:39 by Matt Hansen in Texas, if you want to be technical, but that course was arguably very short on the bike. Either way, he's knocked a whole lot of time off the Ironman world record.
Well, I must admit, it is pretty exciting, especially with what next year could potentially look like. Like you've said, he's got those 2 Ironman slots. He's also part of the sub-7 attempt team, which is going to take up a lot of time and preparation. Then you've still got the WTCS schedule thrown in there and potentially some Super League as well. I mean, what can this athlete do? But going back to this race, I mean, we talked about all those different times. Does the time even matter? Is it even anything that we should be getting excited about?
Well, I think Ironman times have always been somewhat irrelevant. I mean, they all happen on different courses, different weather conditions, different terrain, different road surfaces. There's all kinds of external factors like drafting and lead cars and motorbikes, and it's just impossible to compare one race to another race, even on the same course, never mind different courses. By all accounts, Cozumel is a fast course generally. And this time it was a particularly fast course. They pretty much had the tide with them on the swim. They had a very favourable wind on the bike. And those two things together make for fresher legs, which make for faster runs, especially on that flat course that they have in Cozumel. So yeah, it was a fast day. But it's not really relevant unless you want to compare it to other athletes at other races who aren't necessarily there, such as Gustav Iden from not so long ago.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that was the extreme opposite, wasn't it? Because Gustav had the most horrendous swim and all the swim times were so much slower than normal. So it's the other end of the spectrum. In actual fact, they were 21 minutes different overall. But if you look at their bike and their run, especially their run, very little dividing them.
Exactly. But we do know from them racing each other in WTCS races, for example in Tokyo, where they pretty much came out the water with each other, they are very similar swimmers. So if we negate that, and Torsten Rad from Tri Racing has estimated that the swim difference time here was about 18 minutes between the Florida really slow swim course and the Cozumel really fast swim course. And the difference in their times was 21 minutes. So Gustav's bike was actually about 2.5 minutes faster than Kristian's, and Gustav's run was about 30 seconds faster than Kristian's. And if you take out the swim, they were within 3 minutes of each other with these ridiculously fast times, which makes for some pretty exciting racing when these two do actually face up against each other.
Yeah, well, it's not just going to be those two, is it? We're going to hopefully only have to wait until St. George. And with 2 Ironman world champs this year, we're going to be totally spoiled if you throw a few others in the mix.
Yeah, someone like Jan Frodeno, maybe. And maybe Seb Keenley, who just came back to form now in Ironman South Africa. It is mouth-watering to see all of these top guys come together. It might be the most exciting Ironman world champs we've ever had. And it's not even going to be in Kona.
But it wasn't just all about Kristian Blummenfelt. There was a women's Ironman world record as well by Sarah Svensk, who completed the event in 8 hours 22, which was 4 minutes quicker than the previous Ironman world record held by Daniela Ryf. Although it's not quite the fastest iron distance time, that's still held by Chrissy Wellington in a time of 8 hours 18.
On to some more news, and there's a new half marathon world record. This is the 5th time this year that the half marathon men's or women's world record has been broken. This time by Jacob Kiplimo from Uganda. The 20-year-old ran an average of 2 minutes and 43 seconds per kilometer for the entire 21 kilometers to shave an entire 1 second off the half marathon world record. Pretty impressive.
I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? It's a new world record, and hopefully that means there's still capacity for us to maybe get another world record, maybe even before the end of the year. You never know. We've also got some great news for para-triathlon. Now, it's been a little bit of a minefield trying to follow para-triathlon at the Paralympic Games since it debuted back in Rio in 2016, because the categories that were held there, not all of them were carried over to Tokyo. So some athletes, for example, Andy Lewis from Great Britain, who won a gold, he didn't even get the chance to defend his title this summer. Well, they have now just announced that they are adding more categories. So they had 8 in Tokyo. There's actually going to be 11 categories held in Paris in 2024. So that's only one category that isn't going to be there from the World Championship. So basically, all those athletes that have just competed at the World Champs we've seen recently, out of those 12 categories, 11 of them have chance to aim for the Paralympics, which is great stuff.
Yep. And World Triathlon have announced their location for the World Championships, and we're jumping all the way ahead to 2023 here, where Pontevedra in Spain will host the grand final for the elites and under 23s, plus all the age group races, plus the para trial, which we just mentioned, World Champs in Pontevedra, Spain, which is notable because it hosted the Multisport World Champs back in 2019, and it is home to none other than Javier Gomez.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we can get out to that one. Should be an exciting event. But back to the present time. You might remember a few weeks ago, we have had a few updates from Rate Rattasep, who has been trying to do 60 Ironman distances in 60 days. He's out in the Canary Islands. And as of Sunday, it was his last post. He had completed 48 of the 60, and he's being pretty consistent. That one, for example, was a 1 hour 20 swim, 5:54 on the bike, and a 3:07, giving him a 10:39. So he's getting through it, and we'll keep an eye on his progression.
Pretty impressive. He's done 40 in a row back in 2019, and now he's going for 60 in a row, and he's on his way to getting there. So we wish him luck for the last, is it 11, 10 left now?
Something like that.
Yeah, keep it up. And now it's giveaway time, and we have 4 of these Manta MIPS helmets to give away today. They tick all the boxes as far as safety and aerodynamics and fit and, of course, style. And it's actually the helmet I've been wearing, so you might have seen me wearing it in some of the latest videos. It's a pretty cool helmet, I must say.
Yeah, you do model it very well, but don't worry, you don't actually win James's helmet that he's been wearing this morning.
It's a bit sweaty from my riding to work this morning.
We do have brand new ones. You have the choice of white, black and red, and all you need to do is click on the link in the description below and answer a very simple question. Good luck.
Now it's time for What the Tech. We've seen it under the pro cyclists as far back as June in the Criterium du Dauphiné, but Trek has finally launched its new speeds concept with disc brakes. We've been waiting a while for this, but we knew it was coming, and finally it's been launched. We've seen some pro athletes with it, including Holly Lawrence. Trek claims that this new bike saves 16 watts or 6 minutes over the Ironman distance over its previous speed concept, and it's got disc brakes. They're pretty much the last big brand TT bike to come out with a disc brake version.
Well, you're dampening their release there, aren't you? But a lot of those aero gains are coming from the way they've changed the storage. So they've got actually sort of capacity to take some of the spares in the down tube. And then they've actually got quite a large water bottle, a 700 ml, which is larger than most aero bottles we see, as well as an aero bottle that's going to sit between the handlebars, which might limit some people's positions. It'll be interesting to see. And then there's also the capacity to take apparently 8 gels in the top tube container.
Impressive. It's available now for $13,500 for the top spec, either SRAM Red Axis or Dura-Ace DR2, but there are lower spec options available too for a slightly more manageable price.
And our final piece of tech news comes from Zwift. And you might have spotted some of the pros riding indoors over the weekend and shouting about the new route, the Neo Kyo. That's reckon. How do you reckon you say that one?
No idea. Neokyo?
Neokyo. That sounds more Japanese, doesn't it? As it is a Japanese themed.
Yeah, Japanese themed on Mercury Islands. It is basically a nighttime city riding complete with neon lights, with Maneki Neko, that's that waving cat thingy, that beckoning cat, I think it's called, and koi fish and all kinds of shiny lights and glistening roads. There are 20 miles of it with 8 new circuits. So if you're in the mission of ticking off all of the circuits on Zwift, you got your work cut out because there's a whole bunch more for you.
Well, James, speaking of Zwift, how's the old Tri Academy going? Give us an update.
Yeah, I am doing the Zwift Triathlon Academy, and honestly, it's not going as well as I'd hoped it was. I started this with the plan to use it to kickstart me getting fitter again, because I just seem to be getting less and less fit now that I've retired. But life and well, my kids in particular haven't really got on board with that plan, so I'm really struggling to fit the sessions in. But I am fitting them in, just not as regularly as I'd hoped, and I am getting fitter. And I think by the end of it, I will be significantly fitter than I was when I started. All right, so we're in the warm up. A few 20-second efforts, which is good, warming me up a bit because it's about 2 degrees in my garage today, which is why I'm in my garage today and not outside. I'm using erg mode, so I don't have to think too much. It just tells me, no, increase your power, you got to increase your power, you don't have a choice. It's far easier to keep track of, but you do still have to concentrate with erg mode, because if it suddenly increases the power you need to supply and you weren't ready for it, you can find yourself really grinding to try and get that power out. So you do have to match your gears with the power that it's asking for, but it is far easier to control than trying to do it. Oh, here we go, up to 300. 30 seconds, we're just still warming up at 300. And as you can see on the screen, we get these cues that pop up all the time and just tell you what's happening, what's coming next, what you should be concentrating on. It's really a great addition to a training session, as opposed to just having the numbers programmed in there. Quite enjoying it. It just goes a lot quicker when you've got all these cues, and basically Coach Dan Blues telling you what to do the whole time. Decided to do today's session in the brand new Neokyo, just to see what it's like, trying to not get distracted by all of the bright lights and sounds. Done. All right, that's it. Session done. Thanks Swift Triathlon Academy and Coach Dan Blues for the session. 3 minutes spin, cool down, and then I think I'll take a little break before I try and get one of those run sessions done. All right, Swift run time. Time to do my session. Got it all set up there, if you can see. And time to start the workout. I'm not sure I'm ready for this. And that's the session done. Last bit of the warm down now. And we're all done. That was hard work, but one of the best treadmill sessions I've done, I think, as far as enjoyment goes anyway. Maybe not as far as pace and performance goes. Got a bit of work to do. Anyway, we're working on it. I have a bit of a rest, and then on to the next sessions. On to your race news, and only 2 races to talk about. The first one we've already spoken about quite a lot, Ironman Cozumel, and then there was another one happening down in South Africa, which we'll get to in a minute. Starting with Cozumel, the men's race. We already know the winner. That was Kristian Blummenfelt. Behind him was Rudy Wild from Switzerland, Paul Schuster from Germany in 3rd, Robert Willer-Wicki in 4th, and Andre Lopez from Brazil in 5th.
Yeah, well, the women's race had equally quick swim times. Carrie Lester with a 43 minutes to lead out the swim. But it was an incredibly strong bike by Didi Guisbauer, who is now 50 years old, which is amazing. She actually came into T2 in the lead and still managed to finish inside the top 10.
At the age of 50.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It really is,
in the
isn't
pro
it?
division.
And I think it's so inspiring. But it was Sarah Sphanks who took the overall win with that record that we talked about earlier in a time of 8:22. That was ahead of Goritz Frades in an 8:31, so still a big margin to win by. And 3rd place was Carrie Lester, who dropped off a bit later on.
And on to Ironman South Africa, the other big race happening. The swim was shortened the day before the race. There was obviously going to be a rough sea. You can kind of predict when the sea is going to be rough there. They knew it was going to happen. They shortened the swim to half of what it was supposed to be, apparently 1.9k. But if you look at those swim times in really rough waters, I think it might have been a little bit shorter even than that.
Yeah, well, it was all eyes were going to be on Ruth Arstal for the women's race heading into this. She'd come off that win at Ironman Mallorca 5 weeks before, which can be a margin that can work quite well, and it obviously did for Ruth. The shortened swim may be playing into her hands as well, and it was a very quick swim time by all the women, but 26 minutes for Ruth, and we know how phenomenal she is on the bike, and she actually biked a 4:55. Just to give context, Anna Watkinson, who was second, biked a 5:08, so that kind of shows the margin, and Ruth managed to hang on at the end sprint in the marathon to take that overall win ahead of Anna Watkinson, and it was Jade Nicole from South Africa, so it was actually third for South Africa, who took third. And one other athlete to note, Imogen Simmons, making it into the top 5. And this is quite impressive because you might remember watching her in Ironman Florida where the kind of wheels massively came off, and that was only 2 weeks ago, and she got herself back together, and she's now said that is the end of the season. She's going to have proper recovery, and I think she needs it.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. On the men's side, Sebastian Kienle was back in action after a long time out with injury and his Achilles, and it seems like that's a thing of the past because he got through the whole race with no Achilles problems whatsoever. He was 2 minutes back on the short swim, but then closed the gap to the rest of the contenders with only Sam Ledlow tearing off in front of everyone. At 60 kilometers, he had a 4-minute lead on the main pack, but that was a bit too enthusiastic. They slowly reeled him in for the rest of the bike, and he actually got off 90 seconds down on that main pack, which included Maurice Clavel and Sebastian Kienle. Those two guys went head-to-head on the run. Maurice Clavel went out really hard on the run, and then Sebastian Kienle clawed him back, went past him, only to lose that lead again to Maurice Clavel in the last 10 Ks. So Maurice Clavel taking the win there in 7 hours 30 and 30 seconds. Sebastian Kienle just behind him, 2 minutes behind him in second, and Rasmus Svenningsson from Sweden taking third.
Well, following on from those races, we've got a bit of an update from the PTO. Still being finalised, but it's obvious that these athletes are going to rise up through the rankings a little bit. Maybe not as much as some of them might have hoped. So obviously Ruth, Sarah and Maurice, having won their Ironman, are going to go up. They might be just edging on the outside of the top 20. Might need one more race to do well. However, Kristian, it's a slightly different boat, isn't it?
Yeah, Kristian, unfortunately, this is only a second long course race that counts in this points season, so he would have to do another one. If he did do another one and did well at it, for example, maybe Daytona in a couple of weeks before the qualifying season ends, he could jump right up to near the top because of those other 2 points. So yeah, his DNF at St. George is coming back to bite him a little bit on those points, but I'm not sure he's worried too much about where he finishes in the points ranking for the year. He's got some other credentials to his name after this year.
Alrighty, it's time to take a look at your photos, and we're diving indoors for this first one because apparently it's time to get cozy in Texas, which surprised me. But yeah, it's a very neat and tidy and lots going on, including the sleeveless wetsuit hung up. He's got, this is Harrison, sorry, with his Cervelo P2 on the turbo trainer, and it looks like another bike ready and a few helmets, everything in a very compact room.
Not sure it's that cold in Texas. It's definitely time to go indoors around here though. It's cold right into work this morning. Next we have this from Wayne, his BMC Time Machine 01 from Singapore. And he's getting ready for his TT race with all the best gear. And look at that, that is a good looking bike setup. Even
the saddle is red. Everything is coordinated in that, isn't it?
He's nailed it, that is nailed.
Nice one.
Brilliant.
Next one comes from Noah in Yarra Boulevard, Melbourne, Australia. Now, it's a Felt B12 TT, and it says, taking the tri-bike out for a spin, releasing it from its shackles, the indoor trainer, that is, 1 week out from the first race of the season. I'm jealous of you guys going into race season, and great to see you've got outside with the bike with maybe a little, not that much time to fine-tune your position, but good luck anyway.
Nothing like last minute to get out there. Anyway, at least you're out. And then finally we have this from Samuel in Italy and his Rose X-Lite CRS. Tomorrow's race day, everything is ready except for me. Well, we hope his race went well. He's some images of his race, but also his bike all ready and set up, ready to go.
Well, it's awesome to see that you guys who are in the Southern Hemisphere are getting ready to race, and those of you in the Northern Hemisphere are maybe setting your bikes up on the turbo for the winter. Whichever end of the spectrum you are, do make sure you share your photos with us. You can do that using the GTN uploader, which is on screen now, and also can be found in the description below.
On to your caption competition, and last week we had this awesome image of Heather doing the limbo.
Yeah, I felt so much bendier than I look. Honestly, I thought my head was like,
I don't know, I think you did pretty well in the limbo. Anyway,
maybe for a triathlete.
We have some good captions here. Coach Salsa Luli said, did I hear that Heather fell over the finish line? No, she limboed for the win.
I did expect a few more playing on my Zenim, I must admit. But yeah.
But you didn't fall. You were.
No, I was under control.
Yeah, completely, exactly. The whole time.
Yeah, as far as we can see. Anthony Featherstone says, I like this one, if you set a high bar in the limbo, is that good or bad? Gets you thinking, doesn't it?
I think it's bad. Anyway, Fergal Akala says, Heather takes a literal approach to the need to be more flexible as a GTN presenter.
I try. And then we've got Bike and Dog Trip says GTN is hoping for gold by signing Heather to the Matrix Triathlon. And there were a few along the Matrix lines.
Yeah. Does look like you're dodging a few bullets there. And finally, our winner, Kit Schofield, and he says, Heather, blown away by the latest wind tunnel tech. I see what you did there.
Nice
Kit,
one.
get in contact with us and we'll get a cap out to you. For this week, we have this image of, is it a stormtrooper or is it a triathlete? Well, if you have a caption for that image, drop it in the comments down below using the hashtag Caption Competition, and you could be winning a cap next week.
Yeah, and before we go, there's a couple of videos to keep your eye out open for over the weekend. We were in Lanzarote last week and did a little bit of an experiment of fueling a long bike ride. There were gels involved, there was some Coke, there were sandwiches. A little bit of an experiment. You've just about recovered, haven't you, from that?
Just about recovered.
Stop burping.
Yeah. It was a tough day. It's going to be a good video though, so enjoy it. Pretty entertaining.
I think so, yeah. We've also got the beginner versus amateur versus pro, the last instalment. It's time for the run, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. And obviously, I expect you have noticed that Black Friday is it Black Monday? Black Friday? This is like the whole weekend, isn't it? It's coming up around the world when everything goes crazy and there's loads of great discounts. Well, we are jumping in on that, and there's some wonderful discounts on the GTN shop. So do click on the link on screen and go and check those out before they go.
And if you're looking for something to watch right now, we hung out with Jan Frodeno in Girona, Mark and I. We had a pretty candid chat with him, and it's a pretty good interview. It was pretty cool to hang out with that man and get a little bit behind the scenes with Jan Frodeno. And also there's a video out about training alone and how you can best do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next week for another GTN show.